Asante. The Honorable Deputy Speaker, Your Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, First Lady Janet Museveni, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Members of Parliament, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me begin to say it is a great pleasure and indeed an honor on my own behalf, on behalf of my government and the people of Kenya, to be given this opportunity to address this august House. I speak to you today not only as a friend, but one of your closest neighbors, and indeed a steadfast friend in a turbulent world, as well as a committed partner in our historic task of building a lasting union that shall be secure but also prosperous. Indeed, it is my intention today to try and share with you a little bit of what I see as the destiny that awaits us as East Africans. And I do so that we can be strengthened by the hope that the future stands to bring. But more than that we can in solidarity stand together and defend this future with every ounce of our collective strength. To attain that bright future, however, demands that we pay heed to where we have come from, to what has forged us into independent and ambitious Africans of Kenya and Uganda, and indeed of East Africa. Mr. Speaker, sir, we rose as independent nations from the ruin and carnage of colonialism, from the damage to our bodies and minds that the colonizers, and even before him, the enslaver, had inflicted to try and break our spirit. From these considerable attempts to permanently undermine our sense of self-worth and our independent spirit. However, as Africans, we did not break. There had been civilizations for millennia throughout Africa before the colonial misfortune came upon us. Our people had ruled themselves, inventing and innovating social formulas that became the traditions underlying humane, just societies. Our people had traded with one another, explored each other's lands, and signed treaties of peace with one another. For generations without count, we had also raised brave warriors ready to make the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of their people. From these enduring qualities, we rejected and our forefathers defeated colonialism. Having done so, we did not go back to relive the nations of the past. Instead, we forged new nation states, expanded our sense of national identity, and adopted grander visions than had ever been known before. The greatest of these was the OAU, now the African Union, whose goal for half a century has been to erase the borders between us that were drawn in distant imperial capitals. Here in East Africa, our own East African community, where this great African dream is becoming realized more concretely as one of the fastest integrating regions in Africa and indeed in the world. Kenya and Uganda, as each other's leading trading and investment partners, are at the heart of this integration. Our Northern Corridor integration projects have led the way. One example, as mentioned by President Museveni, is the standard gauge railway line, whose construction starting in Mombasa is progressing on schedule. On its completion, it will dramatically reduce cargo transport costs by at least 60% to the benefit of Ugandan businesses, farmers, and consumers alike. Kenya is also expanding the port of Mombasa and taking strong steps to rapidly improve its efficiency to global standards. We are also going ahead with the development of the LabSet project, which will offer the region yet another world-class outlet for its goods. These infrastructure efforts are driven by the recognition that they are not just for Kenya. We recognize that these programs are for Uganda and our region. Uganda and East Africa. Together, we must prosper. Honorable members, we are also working to exponentially increase power generation in both our countries while looking to making transmission and interconnectivity reliable and broadly accessible. We've also agreed to build pipelines for crude oil and refined petroleum products, and Kenya will join you alongside other Eastern African partners in the development of an oil refinery here in Uganda, whose impact will be regional. Our governments have worked together to ensure that our borders are far more efficient and people-friendly, meaning that our citizens, businesses, and investors are becoming even closer. Honorable members, these important initiatives are only a start to a long journey that we must undertake together. Mr. Speaker, these initiatives and our destination, to put it simply, is to ensure that as a region we have dignity, we are secure, and we live as prosperous people, governed democratically and justly. How we achieve it is by understanding and playing our respective roles as branches of government, together with our citizenry, the political opposition, civil society, and the private sector. We all have a role to play. I suggest to you that our different efforts at this time in our history must be united in seeking above all else prosperity for our people. Every endeavor we undertake, every dream that we have is impacted by a single reality, that 50 years into our independence, we are yet to fully achieve the social-economic aspirations of our people. This is not to say that we have not made progress. but to acknowledge that much more still needs to be done. Changing this reality is our generational responsibility. Mr. Speaker, in our lifetime and in the lifetimes of many sitting here, we have been witness to the fastest sustained economic growth in human history. Its benefits have been felt mostly in Asia and in particular in the countries of the greater Indian Ocean Rim. We have observed from afar countries travel from wretched poverty while many of our people still suffer. These countries have managed to move from poverty to great wealth in just 2 generations. We must look at this and see our own future. We today are growing at the same pace that the Asian tigers did at the time of our independence. We today understand that the only way to catch up with them is to produce more goods and services that are globally competitive, to trade more with each other regionally, and to access exponentially greater amounts of investment. Our partnership as countries is critical in making this happen. A connected Kenya and Uganda today are part of that Indian Ocean Rim, whose markets, investment and technological know-how have changed the power balances in the world. We must harness an African interior with a rising middle class, precious natural resources, and societies eager for economic transformation. Our political, economic, and security partnership will be the key to ensuring that East Africa becomes the hub and brings these 2 worlds together. Adding to this dynamic access will be the deepening of our trade and investment ties with traditional markets of Europe and North America. The coming East Africa will be a leading global choice for investment because of our determination to forge a single, uninterrupted market governed by business rules that allow enterprises to be secure and cost efficient. Our growing youth population will draw the world's manufacturers, bankers, technological companies, and a host of others. The education that our youth are acquiring, as well as the connectivity to the world, and our common aspiration to a better tomorrow will give us a globally competitive labor market. However, honorable members, in order for this project to prosper, we must secure it from its enemies and detractors. In this task, we will draw a shared purpose made stronger by bonds of brotherhood between the people of East Africa. Mr. Speaker, what better examples can I give of our own brotherhood than our very own ex-Vice President, the Honorable Moody Awori, whose brother is none other than Agri Awori, a distinguished member of parliament here in Uganda, former MP here. Oh, he's coming back. Our people are to be found on both sides of the border, interacting and living together as one. There are couriers who straddle both sides of Kenya and Tanzania, at our border in Isibania, the Maasai in Namanga, the Bagisu and the Samia on both sides of the Kenya-Ugandan border. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, who can forget Stephen Kiprotich when he won the marathon gold in 2012 at the London Olympics? Many Kenyans at once celebrated yet another one of our runners winning winning another gold medal, only for it to turn out that he was Ugandan. Mr. Speaker, this is who we are, a people virtually indistinguishable from one another. It is such shared identities and people-to-people links that tie our partnership. We will need this partnership more than ever before in the coming years. We have challenges almost on every side. Mr. Speaker, our armies stand shoulder to shoulder in Somalia, battling a foe whose aim is the destruction of hope and the bitter division of our people according to faith. These extremists use faith as an excuse for their evil ambition to enslave and conquer our people. However, we must continue to forge an even more powerful security framework to ensure that they do not have their space nor the space to operate in our region. On the same note, Mr. Speaker, our neighbors in South Sudan, Burundi and Congo are also facing major security challenges. Our dreams of becoming a prosperous hub that connects us to the world will never become a reality if they continue or if our neighbors continue suffering from serious instability. Kenya and Uganda must therefore work closely together to forge the security and stability that can ultimately be turned into sustained peace for our region. This is particularly true of Burundi within the East African community. We are all working hard to secure the peace in Burundi, and we will remain on the front line to ensure that it is realized. At home, both in Kenya and Uganda, the corrupt, criminals, and the purveyors of ethnic hatred continue to accost us. We must build robust institutions that can face and defeat these enemies of our progress. Corruption especially damages our ability to grow at the pace we desire. We in Kenya and Uganda must remain steadfast in fighting this vice because it is one battle that we have no choice but to win. We must win if we are indeed to be a single, uninterrupted market. Our institutions will need to converge around common standards of excellence and effectiveness. This shall require our parliamentarians, our respective judiciaries, our respective agencies that fight corruption, our public to remain in constant contact, guided by a strong desire to keep pace with one another and to win over this vice. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. These challenges are the other side of the coin to peace and prosperity. We cannot run away from these challenges. We must own these challenges, because it is in solving them that we will forge the countries and region that we desire. So, Mr. Speaker, please do not take my comment on them as an occasion to engage in the often negative tendency of too many of us lamenting as if we are helpless. We are not helpless. I stand before a parliament representing the incredible vitality and desire for self-improvement of the Ugandan people. I am president of a nation that shares precisely these attributes. On the subject of the role of our young people in our future, I want to be especially clear. They are not, as we are often told by outsiders, a youth bulge that threatens war and misery. Instead, our youth are tomorrow's entrepreneurs and workers in world-class enterprise. Our youth pray only to make an honest wage for an honest day's work. They are also a brave multitude that will defend our communities, countries, and regions from terrorists and criminals. I personally have no doubt that it is not the gold or oil that lies beneath our soil that will make us wealthy. It is our young people. We have indeed in them the world's most precious resource. Less than 2 weeks ago, I co-hosted the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, and young men and women from every corner of our continent, and indeed all over the world, were represented. They had in common budding entrepreneurial success that came from their ability to recognize opportunity where most others see challenges. Their spirit and ability to transform our region is no better exemplified than by the story of Claire Masinde, a young woman who has brought hope to thousands of women by offering a way out of obesity and helping them to restore good health. She has done this by building a fat loss laboratory in East Africa, and the business has grown by 40% in the last couple of years and is spreading throughout Kenya and East Africa. There is the story of Michael Macharia, who at 25 years of age founded 7 Seas Technology that now has over 100 employees in East, West, and Southern Africa, and has pushed outside of Africa through acquisitions and partnerships. This business is testament to the power of a Pan-African and global vision by young East Africans. Here in Uganda, large multinationals like Coca-Cola and Pepsi are being given a run for their money by Yasser Ahmed of Riham Soda. Along the way, he has produced over 1,000 new jobs for Ugandans and shown that we have what it takes to be competitive and ambitious enough to take on global players. Our historic task is to make the way for them and for tens of thousands of other young people yearning to join them. And we will do this by removing the barriers to their building thriving and growing enterprises. We will know we have succeeded when taxes are low enough to allow them to compete and grow, where contracts are enforceable, and where rent seeking where rent-seeking and bureaucratic red tape are made impediments of the past. Honorable members, it is your duty as legislators to help us bring this reality into being. I urge you to regard this duty of ensuring widespread economic participation in this era of our history to be as important as the drive to broaden political participation. Economic marginalization is not merely the citizens' distance from government services. It is also the inability for them to have a good idea and to get it through the painstakingly difficult bureaucratic processes of moving an idea to a product in the market. We must help them, and we must make it easier for them to do so. When all branches of government, and indeed all society, works together to achieve this vision, we will unleash a great wealth building machine. Our strong economic growth will transform into a vibrant ecosystem of productive enterprises that will provide decent employment and hope for all. Honorable members, the African saying we all know states that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. This proverb applies to our East African community. We have traveled far to achieve a common market and a single customs union. Yet these were but transitional stages to an integral part that will subsequently have monetary union and ultimately a political federation. The different parts are all interconnected and in the long run, and we need one another to achieve these. Their implementation will mean the attainment of a grand Pan-African dream of eliminating the remnants of colonial boundaries and bringing our people together. The federation that will emerge will be prosperous and secure. It will be a powerful member of the community of nations. It will be able to defend our interests much more robustly and more successfully than we can do individually. We can manage this movement and we can move together. To that end, I wish to commend President Yoweri Museveni for his steadfast dedication to the cause of an East African federation. He has inspired us leaders and indeed millions of other East Africans. I hope that all of us, and particularly the leadership of our countries, truly understand that alone we will only go so far, but together we can scale the global heights and bring the African back to the peak of the achievement he enjoyed when he looked on the rest of the world from the mighty pyramids. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to close, I cannot finish without speaking of the future of democracy in our region. For the last half-century, it has had trouble flourishing in our region. Frustrated by ups and downs of building new countries from rotten colonial foundations, contending with the geopolitics of the Cold War, and indeed, in some instances, of selfish leadership. But this does not mean that democracy is alien to us. No, not by any means. The values of open consultation, debate, and accountability of leadership are old here in Africa. The Council of Elders, who guided us, the counselors to kings and queens of the past who spoke up for the people without fear of censure, the long-lasting elder consultation under trees seeking wise consensus and wide consensus. Our democratic sensibility is no foreign input. It is part of us. It is a central part of our diverse cultures and now only needs to be updated to the new national and regional identities that we have built since independence. So it was in the past, and I believe it shall be in the future. Yet even as we recognize this truth, we also know from bitter experience in recent global history that attempts to impose democracy have also led to mass atrocity and state failure. There is no appropriate one-size-fits-all approach, nor should there be attempts to turn countries into similar copies. In our region, there are those countries that have been torn apart by violence, brought on by deep ethnic and racial enmity. They now seek above all stability, security, and economic growth, and this is understandable, and we must support them. In time, however, they too must embrace the full democratic character that is part of our African heritage. That is to say, honorable members, that even as we all tread different roads, our destination is to become full democracies whose leaders are subject to the people's will as it is expressed by the ballot. Kenya has traveled this difficult path at great cost and pain at times. But we have worked to internalize the principle that political opposition is not enmity. However, this is not only a principle limited to those who are in government or in authority. The opposition itself must not exploit democratic freedoms and its legitimate platform and must not exploit democratic freedoms and its legitimate platform to try and delegitimize government and undermine the people's will. It should be patriotic and loyal to the stability and effectiveness of government, even as it opposes policies and offers different remedies. Democracy does not mean that we should make political and civil society careers of using distortions and narrow lenses and even sometimes outright lies to paint our countries as failures. Not. It does not mean campaigning on crude ethnic terms to divide people that may even trigger violence so that they may be rewarded with government positions. We must, honorable members, be able to make political progress without destroying our countries in the process. Mr. Speaker, a living democracy is anchored in love of country, respect for those with different views, and adherence to debate based on facts, and a willingness to learn from one another. This is the African character which we must all embrace. We must embrace this fully as East Africans. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as I finish, Let me take this opportunity to also thank Uganda from the bottom of my heart for the sacrifices that you have made so willingly in the cause of regional security. There are Ugandan heroes outside this country today who are sacrificing to make our region safer. Kenya applauds them, and we stand with them, and we pray that they may return home safe. Let me also, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, take this opportunity to congratulate President Museveni's government for producing such a successful presidency of the United Nations General Assembly. Honorable Sam Kutesa deserves special applause for so ably guiding the General Assembly as its president during this historic 69th session. Under his watch, the 193 members of the UN agreed on a post-2015 development agenda covering ambitious sustainable development goals. East Africa's contribution to this achievement has been immense. Kenya is proud that the tough debates that went into crafting the Sustainable Development Goals and the post-2015 development agenda were co-chaired by the Kenyan ambassador to the UN in New York. Such achievements, Mr. Speaker, show the heights we can achieve as a region when we work together and aim to change the world for the better. Honorable members, Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity once again to thank you for according me this opportunity to share some small views together with you, and to once again in my conclusion restate of my willingness to work closely with President Museveni, the government and the people of Uganda to ensure that East Africa's children enjoy happier, more peaceful and prosperous lives. I thank you and God bless you.